Hi, this is Toni Wade, the Compassionate Investor, and today we're going to be talking about credit is king, improving your credit and building financial wealth. Now let me tell you, I've got Gerald Parker with us today from Greater Vision Financial, and he is going to be able to break it down to us, talking about how we can improve our credit, talking about what bad credit does for you, and really just helping you get in a position where you too can learn how to build your wealth. Now let me tell you, when I started back in 2012, it wasn't pretty. I just lost my job, and not only did I lose my job, I lost my credit because I had an amazing credit score back then. But when I lost all of that, I had to literally start over, and it took me years to rebuild. And that's a lot of time to try to make up. The one thing that I had to my advantage is I had capital because I'm a saver. I save a lot of money and I utilize it to build wealth. So I was able to use capital because I didn't have credit. But wouldn't it be great to learn how to improve your credit and then utilize other people's money instead of your own to build? Because I would probably be 10 times bigger than I am today had I had good credit. And I want the same thing for you. So what you're going to learn today, I want you to get your pencils out, get your pens out, get your notebooks out. Eliminate all the distractions around you, because this is an opportunity for you to learn how you too can get yourself in position, improve not only your personal credit, but your business credit so that you can take advantage of what's available to you. Try to build a business, purchase property, and get yourself in position financially. Here to talk about credit. So let's jump right in, Gerald. I want you to talk to us first about the state of our situation right now as it relates to credit. What is our state in America related to credit?
Well, Toni, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be on the platform with you tonight. But the state of America, here we are. So we've been conditioned basically to set ourselves up this way. We're financing a lifestyle. And so the credit plays an even bigger part in our lives. If you're going to have any quality of life, it's very difficult to do it because most of us don't have cash built up to make the things that, that we need to do to get done. So we've got to have credit because, again, the whole idea is to finance the lifestyle. So this is where we find ourselves. So it's critical that you have a good credit score.
Yeah, and I actually, when you think of where people are with credit right now, I remember back in the day, people were getting credit just to finance a house, a car, things like that. But I have friends, I'm not gonna say my friends, but friends that are financing weave, or financing purses, and financing all of these things that are unheard of. And not only are they financing it, but they're doing it with people with bad credit, right?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody wants to do business with somebody. So they figured out a way to do that. But here's what's going to happen. That person with the bad credit is going to overpay for everything that they're doing. So they pay 3 or 4 times the value of the item it is that they're financing. So, but credit goes a little deeper than that. It even can affect decisions as it relates to rental properties. That can keep you out of housing opportunities. Also, employment now, depending on what the job is. Employees are looking at credit scores. And when we think about auto loan financing and all of those things play a huge part, it puts you in a very bad spot if your credit score is not where it needs to be.
So basically you're saying that the cost of your bad credit is sometimes even employment. You won't even get a job if you have bad credit.
Oh, absolutely. No question about it. Particularly, government related jobs, post office workers, all of those things they're going to look at your credit score because the credit, what is credit anyway? That's your good name, right? So what that says to a lender or an employee that you are a person of integrity. You're a man or woman of your word. You do what you say you're going to do. A bad credit score says that you're not trustworthy. You can't be relied on to do what you say you're going to do. So it has a detrimental effect. Ripples across your entire life until we get this piece figured out.
Yeah, even when you think about how things sort of spiral, because I can sort of get, why they want to do that. I personally feel that because of the lifestyles that people are trying to have, that's sort of the hole they fall into. Doesn't necessarily speak, at least in my mind, it speaks to their character. It just speaks to, they want to enjoy what everybody else is having. They see their friend has this, they want that. They're trying to just feed that lifestyle and feed that mode. So I sort of can get that. So I want to talk a little bit more about this cost of bad credit and what it costs you, because we ran across this illustration and I want you to be able to speak to it with our audience so that they can better understand what their bad credit is actually costing them. If you could talk through that.
This is a perfect example, Toni, of what bad credit can cost the average person. So the example first would be the mortgage rate. A 30-year mortgage for a property, say, value of $150,000. A person with good credit, with interest included, over time is only going to pay $233,000 for that mortgage, versus the person with bad credit. That mortgage of $150,000 over time will cost them $283,000. That's huge. That is huge. So that's a major markup in overpayment because of credit. Look at the auto loan rate. 60-month financing a vehicle that might cost $30,000. If you've got good credit, that vehicle is only going to cost you $32,000. But look at the person who has bad credit. They're paying $41,000, nearly $42,000 for that $30,000 vehicle. And not to mention the credit card rates. A good credit card rate is only 17.6% versus someone who has bad credit. They're going to pay 25.4%, nearly 25%. And that's 25 cents on each dollar. Only that adds up.
Now, don't get me started on credit cards, because I think we could probably spend a whole day, a whole entire show talking about credit cards, because people are caught up in that cycle of credit with the credit cards and not realizing that money gets to be expensive over time. So if you look at, in just the very basic model that you just shared right here, most people have at least a house, they have a mortgage, they have one car payment at least. But from what I see, most people have 2 car payments. And how many credit cards are most people sitting on? They're sitting on more than 1, sometimes 2 and 3, if they are finding themselves in a place where they can get these credit cards. Going back to that conversation we've had in a couple of episodes ago, where we talked about how students are caught up in the whole cycle of getting credit cards, right? Not even understanding what they're setting themselves up for. But when you can look at this and the cost, I think in just a little example you showed right here, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars difference between what somebody who has good credit has and somebody who has bad credit. That is really scary when you think about it, right?
Oh, no question about it. And think about this. We know that credit is the gateway to debt, and debt is the pathway to poverty. So we've got to understand how to operate within this system so that we can benefit the most. But again, it starts with a good credit score.
Starts with a good credit score. So this is going to be a great segue going into the next segment that we talk about, because I want people to fully understand that this is the state of where we are right now. We have credit, everyone's getting financed for everything, even if you have bad credit. And this is the reality of people who have bad credit, what they're going to be paying. As we look at the next segment, we're going to really talk about specific steps that individuals can take to get to a point where they can improve their credit. We're specifically going to focus now on how can you improve your credit. So Gerald, what are some steps that someone can take to do that?
Well, Toni, the first step is to secure a copy of your credit report. Now, annualcreditreport.com offers you an opportunity at no cost to you to have a copy of your credit report. And you're going to get a copy of all 3 bureaus. You want to see what each one of them are reporting. And then you're looking for, erroneous items, things that may not even be but be yours, that may be on those reports. Taking some of those things off or getting those things off is going to help increase your credit score. Now, if you're currently renting, you can report your rent to all 3 bureaus, and that's going to help increase your score. So all those things are important. You want to consider maybe setting up a secured credit card and begin making payments on time on each one of those cards, and those payments are reported to each one of those bureaus. So that's going to help you. Local credit unions basically have a credit repair program that you might want to consider. They also offer installment loans for their members. And then also the other thing I would suggest is a credit monitoring company. Those costs are not very expensive. Experience does one where you can monitor your credit in real time. Any activity on that credit report, you can kind of see what's going on with it. So you want to kind of get up to speed and understand what's on your file first. What are the challenges that are holding you back, that's keeping that score low so that you can't move your life forward?
So those are some really great points that someone can be able to do. And the thing I want to make sure that people who are listening are understanding is they need to find a way to get in control of their information because they have control. What type of things are out there that helps them get in control? And what type of laws or acts are out there that show that they actually are in control?
Well, listen, these laws were established on the books years ago, the Fair Credit Reporting Act. We as consumers don't even understand what these laws mean to us, but it's designed to protect the consumer. So there are things that can not even be reported on your credit files, some medical bills and things like that, private information that is not even supposed to be out there, or you'll find some of those things on your credit file. So yeah, we have to understand that these laws are designed to protect us as consumers, but if we're not educated on it and understand the laws, then they can report anything. And then we're fighting an uphill battle. It makes it even more difficult.
Definitely. I do know that Fair Credit Reporting Act, there's so much information in there. It's really a long document, really. And there's actually information out there. If you want to go online, you can look it up. That'll sort of give you some nuts that sort of can help you sort of figure out some basics of what you should know about your report. But I want to clearly encourage our listeners to be able to do that and look that up because it's your information. You need to know what they are entitled to report and what they should not be reporting on you. I remember hearing someone talking, Gerald, about your medical bills, for instance. If you have a medical bill that you didn't pay and it's showing up on your report, they were saying that that's a HIPAA violation. Have you heard anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. I've heard those things. Let's say whatever that medical condition was is a very sensitive issue. So now that's on your credit report. So the whole world knows what you were up against and what that, medical issue may have been. So for those reasons, things like that cannot be reported. But again, the creditors who are reporting those items to the bureaus, they don't seem to care about that. So we have to take proactive action against those things as consumers. And that's what those laws were designed to do, is to protect us.
So do whatever you can to understand and know what your rights are as it relates to your credit. And it starts with understanding the Fair Credit Reporting Act and making sure that you get with professional people who can help educate you on what your rights are and educate you on what you can do to improve your credit. Now, one thing I want to touch base on, because I talk to a lot of people who have bad credit, but I also know there's a whole lot of people that have no credit. And I've heard that it's worse to have no credit than bad credit. Can you talk about that?
That is absolutely true, Toni. You would think, but again, we're this is part of the American psyche. You've got to establish some credit. You've got to overload yourself with debt, and the system enjoys that. So the man who is smart enough to avoid the credit and build himself with cash and move his life forward, he gets no reward. So again, having no credit is just as bad as having bad credit. And it does make it difficult. But I would suggest that even those people that don't have any credit at all, let's begin to establish some credit. And the easiest way to do it is with a secure credit card. You don't overwhelm yourself. There are limits on it. You put basically what you want to put on that card, and you've got those spending limits, but make those payments on time each month. Those things will be reported to the bureaus.
Now, you've worked with several different clients. Now, not you directly, but the organization that you work with. You talk to a lot of the people who have improved their credit. Can you share any thoughts or any, for someone who has no credit compared to someone who has bad credit? Because they're both bad, right? But is there, have you noticed by people who diligently moving it forward, like that person who has no credit can quickly move his score forward better probably than a person who has bad credit just by taking some steps?
Oh, absolutely. A person who has no credit has a better chance of increasing their score quicker than a person who has derogatory credit, because you've got to fight through those issues to get the negative items off your credit file. But a person has a clean slate, zero credit at all. I mean, the first positive that is reported to that bureau is going to enhance that score. You could see bumps like 30, 40, 50, 100 points.
So you can drastically, just by taking a few little steps, increase your score if you have no credit. Now that we've got these tips that we just learned about how do we improve our credit, now we need to talk about building wealth, because that's what we really want to do, right? So let's talk about that, Gerald. How do we go about building wealth?
Well, Toni, the first thing we have to do is begin to pay ourselves. That's a discipline that most people don't have, but we need to master that. So just take your money right off the top and begin to pay yourself. The second thing we want to do is learn to minimize our tax liability, because we know that all of us, most of us at least, are overpaying taxes, right? So how do we do that? Start a business. Doesn't have to be a brick and mortar business. It can be a home-based business. But the tax laws favor business owners. So if you're a W-2 employee, that's the opportunity to put more money back in your pocket from your paycheck, because now you have deductions and write-offs that didn't exist before that you can take advantage of as a business owner. And then the third thing would be, once you begin to pull all this together, is look at the possibility of purchasing investment property. Now, we know that everyone who's wealthy in the United States, part of their portfolio is real estate.
So I'm going to say this, you are talking my language. This is the type of stuff I can talk about all day, every day, because it is about building wealth and using these strategies to get there. So those of you who have been following me and the things that I talk about, this is what I talk about all day long, because you got to get into a position of paying yourself. You got to get in a position where you are building yourself up and getting to a point where you're using that W-2 job you got to benefit you. That's why having a business makes sense. And then, of course, real estate. I can talk all day about real estate. So I'm so glad to hear somebody else talk my language. And that's why, too, you and I have built this amazing relationship where we are able to be on the same page. Now, I want to let the listeners and watchers know that everything that we're sharing with you today, you can go out and do. You can go out and do it yourself and go ahead and do the things that you need to do to get there. But I got to share, I want Gerald to share briefly his comprehensive program that he offers that allows for you to do everything in one little nice package. So Gerald, can you go ahead and talk on that?
Toni, I'll be more than happy to. And as you mentioned, it is quite tedious, this entire process, to move yourself forward through these hoops that are required for you to jump through as it relates to repairing credit. So I suggest strongly to look at an expert or find an expert that can do all the work. What we bring to the table is a comprehensive financial strategy platform that the average anybody can afford, that brings all the principal markings to the table that a person can use to succeed in their life. Think about this. The ability to have infused into your life CPAs, financial planners, enrolled agents, credit restoration experts, debt elimination experts, investment consulting, bill shredding capabilities, and a real estate platform for the cost of a price of a cup of coffee a day, $79.97 a month. And that includes a spouse. No setup fee, no contract to sign. You're not locking yourself in long term, but now you've got licensed, trained, seasoned professionals in every area of your financial life, holding your hand through the entire process, walking you through it to get you from point A to point B without you having to deal with the stress and time of doing this yourself.
And that's what it boils down to. Like when you're looking at all of this stuff, when you said all that, it was a lot. It was a mouthful. And to get this type of comprehensive program all in one for less than $80 a month, I can even think of one thing I could just change to make that happen. That's what people need to be thinking about. Like, what can I change in my lifestyle so that I can have that? Especially if you want to truly build wealth. If you truly want to get in a position where your credit is improved and you're building wealth for you and your family. So let's talk about that, because I want to hear what results you're getting. What testimonials are you getting for individuals with this program?
Well, Toni, let's start with my testimony and what motivated me to establish Greater Vision Financial and develop this relationship with these partners, with the results that I got in my personal life. So let's start with my relationship with the CPAs. I consulted with them. They looked at my current tax situation and got me back $350 a month, money I saw on my check 2 weeks later. Now move on to the second component of that program, which was credit enhancement. I come out of there with a 128-point increase in my credit score, not understanding that 128-point increase was going to get me a reduction in my homeowner's automobile premium by nearly $200 a month. So here I am 120 days into the program with 550 additional dollars from my existing finances. I couldn't figure this out on my own, but these experts helped me get there. And then the third component of the program is debt elimination. So what I did is drug into that portion of the program 15 years worth of remaining debt. That included a small balance on a mortgage. These guys have positioned me to pay that debt off in 6.5 years. Tony, that was 4.5 years ago. So 2 years from today, 2 years from today, zero balance in everything I'm doing. Oh, no, man, nothing. Not to mention the $52,000 in interest that they saved me.
And that is what is so crazy, because I met you 2 years ago when you first came, and I was like, what? And to see how you have grown in just that 2-year period has just been amazing to me. That's why who better to talk about this than you, to help share with individuals on what they can do to not only improve their credit and build wealth, but change their financial futures. And that's what this is doing. One thing I want to make sure I resonate with people, because when you said you first saved $300 some, then $200 some, we're talking like $550, I think you said?
Yes.
So I want people to marinate. It's like $550, that ain't a lot of money. Yes, it is. Pause and think about, if I gave you $550 every month, that's what got freed up just for him. Your situation could be different. Your situation could be more. But the goal is getting to the point where you are in control of your financial future. You're getting yourself in a position where you can truly build wealth for yourself, be completely out of debt, and now you can focus on the things that are important to you, which is truly transforming your life in the passion and purpose that you want to be in. We had the opportunity to hear some major nuggets that's not only going to help you improve your credit, but also allow for you to build wealth. And that's why we're here. I mean, we want to be able to build something that we can ultimately pass down to our children. That is the thing that is beautiful. But getting yourself in position where you take full control of your financial future starts with your credit. Now, without good credit, it is more difficult for you to reach your financial goals. I know that, as I mentioned before, I did it, but it was hard. It was not easy. Had I had good credit, it would have been a completely different outcome. I'd still probably just be a little further along. So right now, you have to make the decision to move forward. You have to make the decision that you are going to do something today about taking control of your credit and improving it. Once you've done that, doing the things necessary to build wealth, following those steps. Now, you can do this yourself. Now, the time it's going to take for you to do that, because it's going to take you longer. You're still going to pay. It might be free, but your time means something. If it took you 2 years to do that, you're going to still be paying somebody for that bad credit. So sometimes choosing the option to hire someone or pay for a comprehensive program such as this, you can do that as well. It's not going to cost you as much, depending on how long it would take to build, but you're building at the same time. You get to start building from the moment you start this program. So I want you to take this time, go find us, make your comments on ToniTWade.com so we can talk more about how you can build your wealth. This is Toni Wade, the Compassionate Investor, where we transform lives. Have a great day.